Welcome! In this video, we will discuss behavioral activation. We will discuss the fundamental ideas behind behavioral activation. We will give a definition of behavioral activation. We will discuss what it is good for and when it's effective. And we will also give examples about how to practice behavioral activation. Please subscribe to this channel. Watch this video till the end if you want to hear some useful bonus information. Hit thumbs up if you like this video. Write a comment and hit a bell. If you do these things, some of them or all of them, you will get notifications of new videos. The videos in this channel will reach more people, so you will help to promote this channel and you will make me happy. Let's just go ahead and discuss the fundamental ideas behind behavioral activation. So let's just recall that the cognitive behavioral therapy is based on the following idea. And the idea is that our thoughts, feelings, and actions are related. I made a separate video about cognitive behavioral therapy. It's linked down below, so you're welcome to watch it as well. As far as behavioral activation is concerned, the fundamental idea behind behavioral activation is that if we change our actions, this will affect our feelings and our feelings will change. So why would we want to change our feelings? So suppose that we are experiencing a feeling that's uncomfortable and we would like to reduce that discomfort. By changing our actions, we can change how we feel. We can improve how we feel. And that's the fundamental idea behind behavioral activation. So behavioral activation can be defined as the process of changing our emotions by changing our actions. So the motto of behavioral activation can be, don't wait until you feel like doing things you value. Do them anyway and your feelings will change. So before we discuss how to practice behavioral activation and in what situations it is useful, let us recall the structure of emotion. So I mentioned this structure of emotion in a different video, which is also linked down below. Let's just recall that every emotion has the following structure. Affect is the actual emotion, the bodily sensation that comes from the emotion, the thoughts that comes with the emotion, and the actions that come from the emotions. So these are emotion driven. And so, for example, we can talk about the emotion of fear. So for the emotion of fear, the actual effect is fear. The bodily sensation may be increased heart rate and urge to move, even to run. The thoughts that come with the emotion of fear would depend on the situation in which we feel fear. So for example, if you're driving a car and you see somebody changing lane without signaling, you may think, this is dangerous. And the action that comes with the emotion of fear might be getting out of the situation, getting yourself out of the situation. So I picked this example of the emotion of fear here because the emotion of fear is one of the primal emotions that humans have experienced before they even developed language, and it is related to survival. And so the emotion of fear actually has purpose. So it doesn't mean that everybody who has ever felt fear has felt fear in the exact way it is described here, but I hope that this example provides clarity about what is the structure of emotion. So from this example, we can see that every emotion has purpose. And so sometimes it's actually beneficial to follow through with the action that comes with the emotion that we are experiencing. So if we are, say, walking in a dark street and we are fearful that somebody who is following us might be dangerous, it might actually be useful to take a taxi instead of taking a walk. But sometimes the actions that are attached to the emotion we are experiencing may not lead to a particularly useful outcome. And so in that case, we may want to change the emotion instead of following through with the action. So for example, if you are just learning how to drive and you have gotten on the highway and you know that you have all of the skills of driving, but you're just feeling a little bit fearful, and the emotion that comes with that fear is that you want to get out of the highway. But you know that you're capable of driving on the highway and it's just the first time, and you would like to follow through with this exercise. So in this case, you may actually do the opposite. You may stay on the highway, and then your emotion of fear may gradually change into the emotion of confidence, because the longer you drive on the highway, as you're applying your newly acquired driving skills, you become more and more confident about it and you do not feel fearful anymore. So that's what behavioral activation is all about. So if the emotion that we are experiencing doesn't really serve a useful purpose for us, we may want to do the opposite of the action that comes with the emotion. And as we do so, we expect that our emotion is going to change. So here is another example of behavioral activation. Inga wakes up on a Saturday morning feeling sad. So the effect that Inga is feeling is sadness. Let's just say that the bodily sensations that Inga is feeling is maybe she just feels tired, which is expressed in her overly relaxed muscles. And she has a light headache. Let's just say that the thoughts that cross Inga's mind are, oh, today is going to be a bad day. And the urge to action that Inga is feeling that comes from the emotion of sadness is to stay in bed. So when we talk about the action that comes with the emotion, it's not necessarily the action that we are actually taking. It's the urge towards a certain action that we feel that comes together with the emotion. So we are not writing here, it doesn't mean that Inga actually is staying in bed and is going to stay in bed, but the emotion of sadness makes her want to stay in bed. So Inga knows about behavioral activation. She acknowledges that she is feeling sadness. She acknowledges these bodily sensations. She is aware that a thought has just crossed her mind that today is going to be a bad day. And she doesn't want to stay in bed. She wants to change this. Maybe because she has stayed in bed for the last several weekends, and she noticed that it didn't replenish her. She didn't feel any more rested because she stayed in bed during the weekend. And in fact, she felt even more sad after having stayed in bed for the entire Saturday. And so she just doesn't want this to happen today. So Inga wants to use behavioral activation to address her emotion of sadness. So she just doesn't want to just stay in bed and wait until her emotion of sadness is just going to change. And then if that changes, then she will do something else. She wants to be proactive and she wants to use behavioral activation. And so she wants to do something other than staying in bed, knowing that if she does something other than staying in bed, her emotion of sadness is is likely to change. So now the question is, well, first of all, we said, well, do the opposite. So what's the opposite to stay in bed is not to stay in bed, right? So on the very primitive level, applying the skill of behavioral activation in this situation would be just to get out of bed. So let's fine-tune this example a bit further. So, okay, so Inga knows that she needs to get out of bed, but what for? And what kind of value is it that she wants to pursue? So as Inga is deciding about what to do when she gets out of bed, she thinks about, well, what does she value in this situation? And Inga thinks that she would like to use her Saturday in such a way that at the end of the day she will feel well rested, and that whatever it is that she's going to do is going to be helpful for her health. And so Inga feels that if she stays in bed for the entire day, it's not going to make her feel well rested, because she's done that before and that just didn't work for her. So Inga wants to establish some kind of smart goal. Inga thought about her value, and now she's thinking about what kind of smart goal is going to help her to pursue this value. So in this situation, SMART is actually an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and trackable. So as Inga is trying to decide what her goal is going to be for the Saturday, she is trying to come up with a SMART goal, because of course she could try to decide that she's going to bicycle 10 miles, but she does feel tired this morning, and she does have a light headache today, so it's not a very realistic goal for her to bicycle 10 miles today, even though that's something that she would have liked to do. So instead of trying to bicycle 10 miles on the Saturday, Inga is deciding that she is going to go to a nearby cafe and have breakfast out. She is deciding that after that she is going to call a friend. And she is deciding that she is going to watch a movie in the afternoon, and if her friend is going to be available to go to a movie theater, she's going to go to a movie theater, and otherwise she is going to maybe watch a movie alone at home. And she is deciding that she is going to meditate in the middle of the day. And overall, she is going to take this day slow because she does feel tired, but she is not going to stay in bed. So this is an example of a SMART goal, because the activities that Inga has listed here are specific. So she is going to have a breakfast, call a friend, watch a movie, and meditate. They are measurable, so if she really does accomplish these goals, she will be able to see that she did that. These goals are attainable. She feels like she has enough energy to accomplish them. They are realistic, so she didn't plan to go out with a friend to see a movie, because she knows that her friend may have made other plans for today, so her goal is realistic. If her friend agrees to go out to see a movie, she will do that, and otherwise she's gonna watch a movie at home. And they are trackable, so at the end of the day, she is going to be able to see whether or not she has done all of those things, and even in the middle of the day, she can see the progress on how well she's doing with these goals. So for Inga, the barrier is that she may actually stay on social media instead of doing all of these activities. And her solution is that she schedules specific times for at least some of the activities. Right, so she decides that she's going to just get dressed and go and have breakfast as soon as she gets out of bed. She decides that she's going to call a friend after she returns home from breakfast, and she decides that she is going to meditate as soon as she's done talking with her friend. And as far as watching a movie, she leaves that open because that may depend on whether or not her friend is available and what movie her friend wants to see. From this example, we can see some of the applications of behavioral activation. So one way to apply behavioral activation is to change the emotions accompanied by actions that do not serve a useful purpose. So another application of behavioral activation is to develop habits of living that are more in tune with our values. So another example might be that Tom has a very demanding job, and it leaves him pretty much no time to spend with his children and wife, because he comes home quite tired, and sometimes he even needs to work in the evening. And on the other hand, family is really one of his values. And so, in this situation, Tom may want to use behavioral activation for a more long term period of time to make sure that his living habits are more in tune with his value of spending time with his family. As I promised, at the end of the video, there is a bonus, and I'm not just putting it in here at random. It's important to remember that when we practice behavioral activation or any other coping tool for that matter, it's important to have self-compassion. Because if we do not have self-compassion, there is a danger that we apply coping tools as sort of some kind of a punishment, right? Like I feel like, oh, I'm feeling sad, and that's so bad for me to feel sad on Saturday morning. So I am going to use behavioral activation to correct the feeling of sadness, right? You see what I mean here. So it's important to feel self-compassion. And what is self-compassion? It's an attitude toward oneself that is as kind, patient, and loving as it is toward our friends and family. And again, in our society, we are taught that we are supposed to be tough, that we are supposed to work hard and be happy all the time, and many other things that are actually not realistic and are not compatible with our nature as human beings. And so self-compassion is an attitude that is very important for us to have when we practice any kind of coping skill. I hope that you have a nice day, and I hope that behavioral activation is something that will be useful skill for you to practice. Thanks and have a nice day. Bye.